wiped out.
The game Furi is a boss rush, and man is it a fucking rush. This game is one of the most exhilarating experiences I've had since breaking into an indie theater in Ohio. The game is tough, like really tough. There is quite a bit of trial and error unless you have godlike reflexes, but it's not like error and then you die. It is hard and can be quite frustrating, but when you finally beat the boss, you get such a sense of accomplishment. When you pull off a perfect parry and then it shows you throwing the boss to the ground, you can feel that fuck you deep inside your soul. When you finish off a boss with only one little square of HP, you get such a feeling of relief, and more importantly, it's fucking fun! Your weaponry consists of a gun and a sword, and the game is top down. So you shoot at them when they are on the other side of the circle, and slash the shit out of them when they're right next to you. And they shoot and slash at you for the most part. You can shoot their bullets out of the air, you can also parry some of their bullets, and of course you can parry any melee attacks. And successful parrying gains back health, which is a nice feeling. You start the game with no knowledge on how to do any of this. The game starts with you getting freed from your cell by Ravio from A Link Between Worlds, and then you just walk up to the first boss and fight him. No tutorial prior to this. The tutorial is paired with the fight, which really is just him performing certain attacks and the game showing you which button does what. Now, this is probably one of the best introductions to any game. I got so invested in this fight, which probably also had to do with the mad shit he was talking at me. I love the things the bosses say to you. It gives hints to the story and can really dig deep. Like, some of the insults get in there, or sometimes they're just nonsense. The story is told to you while you walk to the bosses, but the bosses also say things before the fight that give some insight to the story. And the story was actually pretty good despite being pretty minimal. The concept of everything and the characters of everyone was interesting. I actually really like the story, but I'm not going to talk about it because it's very short and I feel like saying anything would be saying too much. So I'll just leave it at it's good, and then you buy the game and see for yourself. That was dumb. I should cut all that. Even though the bosses are all centered around this same basic concept of this top-down arena type brawl to the death, they are all different enough to keep the game interesting throughout. It's not like their bullets shoot faster and do more damage, or their attack has a slightly more complicated pattern than the previous boss. It changes the way you beat them and how they beat you pretty significantly with each one. I'd say the most similar in gameplay are 1, 2, and 4. Most other bosses have at least a really unique gimmick or change how you play completely. If I'm being totally honest, I do have at least somewhat of a soft spot for electronic music, but I can still differentiate from good and bad. If you like electronic music, then obviously you'll like the soundtrack, but if you're not very fond of that type of music, I'd say you still might be able to enjoy it. For the most part, I think the music is actually really good. I also greatly appreciate the fact that the theme you get walking to the boss is then energized when you're facing them, instead of having two totally different tracks. And having electronic music for the whole game's soundtrack works superb, not just because of the style of the game, but also because one thing that electronic music does really well is getting things fucking pumped.